Hey, Sanford here, your mind-body connection guy. And welcome to another exciting episode of Unlock Your Hidden Fear to unleash your extraordinary potential. And today's episode is called The Shame Game. Now, some people believe that pride is the source of shame. Now, pride, however you want to look at it, usually has two meanings, negative and positive. Okay, let's just start with the negative. Negative means not asking for help you need or belittling other people, stating that they are less than you and that they don't deserve any amount of happiness in their life. A positive meaning could be taking delight and joy in your work and of course your accomplishments, and are finding joy and delight in someone else's work and accomplishments. Okay, so now that we got that cleared up, let's look at the opposite of shame. The opposite of shame is dignity. Dignity meaning to be worthy of honor and respect. Often people don't want to do the work that goes with getting that dignity. Yes. When we are born with the virtues of courage, respect, love, and joy, and so on. Yet, the longer we live and grow, most of us carry the scars of negativity like badges and trophies and medals of honor, as we find it so hard to lay them down and step into our true courageous selves. Now, before I move on, I want to clear up the meaning of guilt and shame, because often people confuse the two. Okay, guilt comes from a transgression, meaning I did something bad. Okay, I did something bad. Whereas shame is a feeling about an action or a situation, and we usually label ourselves a bad person, deserving to be punished, and usually for a long period of time. Okay, now many things have changed in the world, yet two of the most powerful virtues that I believe keep us striving and connected to our purpose and fighting for something bigger than ourselves has changed and is almost extinct. These two virtues are dignity and courage. When it comes to mental health, shame has dimmed so many people's light. We no longer see who we are, but who the government, the media, and who fear needs us to see and to be. Now, according to Clearview Treatment Center, it's a program that specializes in addiction treatment. They state that shame is so powerful that it can shape the whole trajectory of a person's life. Shame can be long-term physical and mental effects. The ongoing "I'm broken" or "I'm bad" message in the brain can trigger feelings of hopelessness and helplessness, according to Aurelia Schwartz, a clinical psychologist based in Colorado. I know from my own personal experience, when I was struggling with my business, trying to keep it afloat 6 years ago, I felt like a failure. And then when it finally went under, I felt like I had let so many people down, and I was a bad person. I felt broken, I felt hopeless, I felt helpless, and on the verge of ending my life. You know, I carried that shame for about 4 years before I started uncovering the layers. I let my own personal life get in the way. And my experiences have shown me to get to the core of shame, you have to look deep inside and acknowledge all of your mistakes and wrongdoings. Because if you don't, you will continue to buy into the narrative that you are a bad person and that you are never going to be good enough. Now, let's get back to the research. Research shows that shame increases the risk of substance abuse and other addictions, largely because it is inherently isolating. People who view themselves as worthless may abuse food, sex, shopping, largely because they've missed out on those, now get this, because they missed out on those warm, fuzzy feelings associated with oxytocin, which is the social bonding hormone. Now, when I screwed up my business, I felt like I was a horrible person, even though I wanted to feel better. Shame was just too powerful for me at that time. And I stayed in that fight or flight mode to protect myself and to keep other people away by pushing them away, especially those people who got too close to me. Now, I want to share five ways that I've researched that shows how shame can shape your life. Number one, people who live in shame often avoid relationships, vulnerability, and community connections. Number two, people who live in shame are often prone to suppressing their emotions. Men and women are triggered differently, but they both tend to keep those sort of feelings deep, deep, deep inside of themselves and wrapped up. Number three, people who live in shame often feel worthless, depressed, and anxious. People who are ashamed live out a difficult emotional and mental battle each and every day. Number four, people who live in shame are less likely to take healthy risks, like hanging out with their friends at a new restaurant or joining in activities if there is a chance they could fail or look bad doing it. And number five, people who live in shame are more than likely to relapse back into shutdown, conflict, deflective behavior. They can relapse and overindulge in a real or perceived shame situation. Again, most people living in shame believe that they are worthless. So they punish themselves by putting themselves back into their addiction or engaging in things that are bad for their health or well-being. Now, what changed for me was I finally asked for help. I started doing a lot of the deep truth work, peeling back those layers of mistakes I made, the layers of lies I told myself and other people. The hardest part was to stop denying. Now get this, stop denying what was still hiding and suppressed inside of me. That's the hard part. Now before I leave you, I want to share some steps that I started as a way to unpack my shame. And a lot of the research, there are a lot of people who research and tell you what shame should feel like. Yet they don't give you small how-to steps. So as I said, I want to leave you with some small how-to steps that I did to begin my practice in releasing and healing the shame I lived with for so long. Now let me just say to everybody who is living in shame, it's a difficult place and I understand that. But I also want to say lying to yourself and others has got to stop. If it doesn't, the healing will never start. Believe you me, I know. So here are 5 ways to begin a releasing and healing practice in your life. And I hope from the deepest part of myself that it helps you too. Number 1, be courageous enough to be vulnerable by seeking out relationships. Number 2, be courageous enough to carry shame from your head to the actions and activities. Don't just plan and talk, do. Number 3, be courageous enough to speak to yourself like you would a close friend or a child if they were filled with shame and they came to you. Number 4, be courageous enough to take small, healthy risks and be willing to fail. I didn't die when I started taking those risks, and you won't either. Be courageous enough to believe healing is possible. Seek out people that believe in you and that you can, and build a circle of shame slayers to help you win and get back to you. I want to thank you guys very much for joining me, and remember to always, always love your